Bonjour, this is Jasmine. Thank you so much for stopping at Smell the Roses on Rue Madame. For those of you who are new to the neighborhood, I'm a writer, a storyteller, and a community builder. I write about culture, politics, parenthood, and my life here in France. And you can check out my blog on patreon.com/Rue Madame. Become a resident there in the gated community and get all the exclusive essays, articles, and full videos. Today, I have a special guest, and before I introduce you to her, let me show you a quick 15-second clip of our history together. So, can you introduce yourself, Jen, and tell me why you wanted to be a part of Rue Madame?
Okay, well, yes, my name is Jennifer Owens. I'm Jasmine's cousin, and essentially, I am a working mom of three. I have a teenager, two toddlers, so I'm going through it. And I am at a point in my life where I want more, if that makes sense. I basically want to leave, good advice behind for my kids. I want my voice to be heard, and I want to ensure that I make the most of my time here. And this is one way that I'll be able to do that. I also feel like I have an opinion on topics. So like I just said, I want my voice to be heard, but I have an opinion on topics near and dear to my heart that need to be shared with the world. So I'm normally like a very reserved person. And this is a great way for me to also grow from a social perspective as well.
I feel the same way because I was just thinking like all through my life, I've been very private for the most part. Even on social media, I don't like share my opinion most of the times. And I don't think even my voice even matters. Like who cares what I think? And that's always going through my mind. And I have to like tell myself like, yeah, your voice does matter. And if this person can talk and have a platform and he's not making any sense, then I can have a platform.
And girl, we see that a lot right now. We see that a lot.
So I wanted to like share a bit of our relationship and tell our audience like how we like grew up together, etc. So our mothers are sisters, and we grew up like sisters. I feel like all of our cousins were very close and close knit, and it kind of like built my childhood, and that's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of how I grew up and how I want my children to grow up. And you brought it to my attention that we were born in the same year in '88, right. And our kids were born in the same years in 2016 and in 2018.
Right.
So yeah. What's the first thing you think of like when you're thinking of our family and our relationship?
I would say the same thing. Like when I think of our family, even with my dad's side of the family and mom's and we're related through my mom. But family is like definitely the first thing I think of when I think of my childhood and how we grew up. Very close, going over our aunts and uncles' houses and grandma's
house. Night, sleepovers, family functions, dinners at grandma's house. You know, just that that fellowship is what I think of.
Right.
And how in our past there was gaps in our childhood, gaps in our like relationship where we didn't talk, we didn't see each other. And could you talk more about like, what did you even think of? Like, did you even think that you would be reconnecting with your family in your 30s? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't really, I knew that I missed you guys and we had kind of grown apart. Our families had grown apart. So it's like, you have like this whole time where you're spending most of your time with your cousins and your grandma and you want to see them. And then, things happen between family members or whatever. And it pulled us apart. But when I became an adult and I kind of got on my own, then I was like, you know what, let me reconnect with my grandmother, let me reconnect with my cousins and stuff. And I'm really glad that you guys like decided to welcome me back with open arms, you know, so to speak, and everything. So it's really nice to be reconnected.
Because we, for example, our brothers are very close. Right. Our other siblings are really close. And I know like your brother would come around and we'd be like so ecstatic and happy to see him, still calling him his childhood name, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we will always think about like, wow, like one day I know we're gonna all like come back together and it's gonna be not perfect, but yeah, we can do things like this together and, right. You know, like you said, have a legacy for our kids to come. And it's kind of like, what do you call it? A circle moment when you like.
Yeah, full circle moment.
A full circle moment, exactly.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what are the topics you'd like to talk about? And what is the future for Rue Madame and you being a part of it?
Well, I mean, for the part that I'll play in it, or I'll just say, well, first let me kind of talk about like the things that are near and dear to my heart. So like something that's new to me, near and dear to my heart, which you now know about, is like the fact that my son was diagnosed with autism. So now I'm like, I have to deep dive autism and figure out, you know, what is it that I can do to help him. So that'll be like a new topic for me. African American issues is something that's very huge to me. Self-care, wellness, problem solving, like issues like poverty in my mind. Sometimes I sit and think to myself, like, why does poverty even still exist? Like in a world where we have so much great technology, so much
wealth,
and opportunity, why is it that we still have areas like the ghetto? Like, you know, why
and is that?
That just puzzles my mind.
That is a good point, because we grew up in quote unquote ghetto, or at least I did. For example, where our grandmother used to live in Highland Park. Highland Park today,
oh my God,
is like the ghetto of ghettos in Metro Detroit. And growing up,
that's terrible.
I didn't really know to what extent we were living in, because we were happy. I had a really good, nice, normal, happy childhood, even though technically, if you were to look at, you know, my parents' bank account or, you know, our surroundings, it didn't seem like that. And the fact that we grew up together, we went to events together, we went down to the Sesame Street Live together. We did a lot of fun, interesting, sometimes educational things, but like you said, we live in dire straits, like if you were just to look on a superficial level. And I think that's really important, because I think even our entire family, for the most part, have come a long ways, you know what I mean, from where we were and from where we are. And the fact that I live in a whole different country, like thinking back in Highland Park, Detroit days, I would never have thought we would be in the places that we are. Right. So that's a really good one, poverty. Anything else you?
Oh geez, what else? Oh, just self-improvement. That's another thing that, you know, that's always on my mind, always like at the forefront. How can I improve myself? So that's another thing. But I would say, like, as far as my family, I feel like we grew up at a certain point where we were doing really good, and then there was other points where we weren't doing as good, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah. So
I was
it's a complicated subject.
It is. And I was talking to my husband the other day about our New Year's resolutions and what do we want for next year, since like 2020 was so complicated, to say the least. Right. And I was saying, like, don't you want to reinvent yourself? Don't you want to like tell yourself, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and it's going to be completely different. And when you were talking about self-improvement, it made me think of that because a lot of people say, I don't like New Year's resolutions. They don't mean anything. They're not important. People always don't go through with them. And I completely agree with that. I understand how people can see that. I mean, for some people, it's not a good thing. But for me personally, just on a personal level, even if I don't go through with something, just having a plan in place makes me feel better. At least it's kind of like
planting a seed.
Right. Planting a seed and putting it out there saying, okay, I put this on paper and I'm telling, my cousin and my husband and my mom, and I'm telling people about it so they can actually say, oh, you remember when you said you're going to do this, this, and this, like to have some type of accountability.
See, I'm bad with that part though. Like, cause if I tell somebody, I'm like, okay, don't ask me about it again. Like, I'm working on it. Like, cause I got the 2 kids and I'm working full time. So like, if you bring up something to me and I'm like, okay, I'm giving my all over here.
Right.
And you're bringing this up to me, my one little downfall, like leave me alone for a minute. Like sometimes that's how I feel.
Exactly.
But I do want to be held accountable at the same time, but still it can be a little annoying, just to be honest.
Yes. So I wanted to tell our audience what is next in our expectations, like for what we're going to plan. Do you want to tell them like what's the end of the year is going to look like?
Well, what do you mean? Like for the topics that we're going to talk about or end of the year? Oh, well, basically, I think we had kind of talked about, we want to do like a time capsule of 2020, like, what made 2020 special for us, as well as like what happened in 2020, since so much did happen in 2020. Another couple of things that we wanted to talk about, and we may not have time before the end of the year, but we'll definitely discuss it, is like mental health during coronavirus, what's going on with that. And are we taking care of ourselves as moms, and as people in general?
Yes, exactly. I'm glad you brought that up because we have the Black Moms Picnic in Paris group that is growing, but I wanted to get more developed and really talking about issues that are near and dear to mothers and parents in general, not just mothers, but parents in general. And I think it's important because a lot of parents keep like adversity or touchy topics to themselves, even though it can be helpful or beneficial to other parents if it is shared in a constructive way. True. So I'm really, really interested in like talking more about that. And looking back on 2020, I thought that was a really good idea, Jen, because I didn't even think about that before. But just to like remind ourselves how much we've gone through and how much we need to kind of give ourselves like a pat on the back for like getting through it, surviving it. Because every day I feel like there's another famous person that has unfortunately died of coronavirus, for example. I don't know if you saw the actor who played Debo in Friday.
Yeah,
he passed away. Was literally 2 days ago, I think, maybe yesterday. So yeah, I can't wait to do that. Are there any topics right off the bat or significant moments that was important in 2020 for you?
Well, I think for me, just dealing with coronavirus in general, it brought me to a point where I'm always, like I said, I'm always in self-improvement mode, but it kind of put a pedal to the metal moment of like, okay, look, you got to take this serious. If you have things in your life that you want to do, you got to do them, start working on them and doing them now, because life is short. We lost so many people. I just saw on Facebook, for every famous person that passes, there's like a ton of normal people, that have passed away. I think about that even when like rappers like King Von got shot, because of senseless violence. Like there's so much senseless violence happening on a level where we don't even, know the names,
Right.
But I just say all that to say is life is short. We're seeing so many people pass away or get killed. We have to take that as, well, number one, appreciating their lives and stuff like that. But also take it as, okay, life is short. We have to get what we need to get done now, or start on it. Like, let our voices be heard. Like, at the end of the day, I feel like I have opinions that might be able to help. And so I'm like, I want to get it out there.
I feel the same way. And I feel like that is the whole point of having this Rue Madame and having like a community around just sharing your voice, inspiring other people by just talking. So yeah, probably this is the highlight for me as far as 2020 is concerned. And when you were talking about just being appreciative of your life and not taking it for granted, it just really makes you think like, wow. And for me personally, I had to really think about, do I want to always be looking for other people to validate my voice, other people to say, oh, you're good enough, or your writing is sufficient enough? Because even transitioning from a teacher, I stopped working and was taking care of my kids full time. And then I wanted to transition again to writing. And I was sending my writing to different magazines or, different outlets to see like, oh, maybe something will catch, you know what I mean? And then Rue Madame happened. Like, okay, the pandemic, it was right when the pandemic was like popping off. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, you are good enough, and time will not wait for, your creativity to be validated.
Right.
So yeah, that is what this is all about. And I'm so, so happy for you to come aboard and talk together about this. So I can't wait for the next couple of videos we're going to do together. And I'll probably end it there, and we can talk more the next time we talk about 2020 in the capsule. So thank you so much, Jan.
Yep, no problem. I'm excited about, future topics, and we'll go from there.
Yes. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.